25 people are arrested for MPF early collection fraud. Dinosaur fossil on display for residents and tourists. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Police arrested 11 people on suspicion of fraud over the early withdrawal of mandatory Provident Fund money using forged documents as well as other crimes. Mimosing reports.
The 11 suspects comprised 7 men and 4 women, aged between 24 and 43. They were arrested on suspicion of fraud, forgery, and money laundering. During the operation, police seized multiple items from the syndicate, including 837 application forms for early withdrawal from the Mandatory Provident Fund, 8 computers and $500,000 in cash. Police officers said the syndicate rented an office in Tsim Sha Tsui and turned it into a financial consulting company. The syndicate invited MPF scheme members to visit the office, where they would persuade individuals to withdraw their money. They told the members it was legal to withdraw their MPF money in advance. In the process, the group would take pictures of members, saying it was required procedure. The police said those pictures were used for forgery purposes to create fake residence permits for Hong Kong and Macau residents who are part of the MPF scheme. The reason given for applicants to empty their MPF accounts was leaving Hong Kong permanently. With those successful applications, the group would take 10 to 30% of the person's MPF sum. Authorities said the syndicate had taken more than $145 million. MPF reminds members of the public to educate themselves on the rules regarding early withdrawal of funds. For instance, individuals must be at least 60 years old and have ceased all employment and self-employment. Memos 9, TVB News.
The Observatory said standby signal number 1 will be in force until 6 a.m. on Saturday. The observatory said severe tropical storm Trammy will skirt about 500 kilometers to the south of Hong Kong on Saturday morning. It said Trammy will move gradually towards the seas south of Hainan Island. With the dual effect of Trammy and the northeast monsoon, local winds are occasionally strong offshore and on high ground. The observatory said local winds will weaken on Sunday. They'll decide if it is necessary to issue the strong wind signal number 3 on Saturday. Tropical storm Trammy moved away from the northwestern Philippines today. It left at least 65 people dead from landslides and extensive flooding. Among the dead were 26 villagers in hard-hit Bicol, an agricultural region and tourism destination southeast of Manila. Officials in the provinces of Camarines Sur and Albay pleaded for more rescue boats to reach people trapped by floodwaters. Tropical storm Trammy is the 11th and one of the deadliest to hit the Philippines this year. Although Trammy did not strengthen into a typhoon, it dumped unusually heavy rains in some regions. More than 2.6 million people were affected by the deluge. The storm was last tracked at dawn, blowing 125 kilometers in northern La Union province. It was moving northwest at 25 kilometers an hour towards Vietnam. However, the Philippine Weather Agency said it's possible high-pressure winds and other factors could force the storm to turn towards the Philippines again. Minister of Commerce Wang Wentao met with visiting Apple CEO Tim Cook in Beijing today. Wang urged Apple to continue stable cooperation with Chinese partners for common development. Wang and Cook exchanged views on Apple's business in China, as well as China-U.S. trade ties. The Minister of Commerce vowed to optimize the business environment and provide high-quality services for foreign-funded firms. Cook pledged long-term development and increased investment in fields of supply chain and research and development. He said Apple will continue to serve as a bridge for communication and exchanges between China and the U.S. in the economic and trade field. The first dinosaur fossils discovered in Hong Kong are now on exhibit to the public at the Hong Kong Heritage Discovery Center. Visitors expressed excitement about the historic find, but some wanted more information. Samantha Lee has the story.
Dozens of visitors turned up at the Hong Kong Heritage Discovery Center this morning to see the city's own dinosaur fossils. The fossils are displayed inside a glass box at the lobby and are believed to be a bone from either the dinosaur's shoulder or buttocks. Some visitors found it amazing.
In a way, it's almost like a shock, because I could never imagine that I could really see a piece of fossils and a dinosaur's fossil in such a volume. I would expect they would give more descriptions, like, because I asked the question, which part of the dinosaurs was this fossils?
I'm quite excited to see this here, and it's, I think, a landmark discovery because it's the first time such a thing has been found in Hong Kong, which is a really modern city. I thought it would be quite distinguished from the rock, but now that I get here, I could not distinguish it easily from the rock. So I asked the person who very nicely explained to me why we think it's a fossil.
Rarely chance that for them to see. Beforehand, we usually disappoint them by saying, it's from other country, you are not likely to find something like this in Hong Kong.
Authorities say more fossils may be waiting to be found on Port Island, and a temporary workshop will be built in the courtyard of the center by the end of this year. This will allow the public to observe how experts work to prepare dinosaur fossils. The public can have their first look at the first ever dinosaur fossil at the Hong Kong Heritage Discovery Center for free. Advanced registration is not required. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Still ahead, Kamala Harris pulls star power in her campaign as Donald Trump continues to attack her. TVB News travels to New York and looks at illegal immigration issues. And TVB News reports how an old Chinese medicine company in Shandong turns to the future. Welcome back. In the U.S., Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris held a star-studded campaign rally in the state of Georgia. Legendary American singer Bruce Springsteen, nicknamed The Boss, and former President Barack Obama were there to endorse the vice president. Her Republican rival Donald Trump campaigned in Arizona and hit out at Harris's immigration record. Nazvi Karim with more.
The boss, the president, and the local boy who became a star. Vice President Democratic nominee Kamala Harris brought out the big guns in Clarkston, Georgia, with the U.S. presidential election less than 2 weeks away. Iconic American singer Bruce Springsteen, whose hits include Born in the USA, told the Georgia crowd Harris is the only candidate who truly knows America.
Donald Trump is running to be an American tyrant. He does not understand this country, its history, or what it means to be deeply American.
Obama also criticized Trump, warning Georgians that his successor as president is a dictator who wants U.S. institutions to serve him instead of the people.
We do not need 4 years of a wannabe king, a wannabe dictator running around trying to punish his enemies. We are ready for a better story. Georgia, we're ready for a President Kamala Harris.
Actor, filmmaker, and media mogul Tyler Perry was once homeless in Georgia, sleeping in his car, having it repossessed, and remembering how expensive it is to be poor.
And what I realize is that in this Donald Trump America, there is no dream that looks like me. We want a president who believes that this American dream is for everyone. And that president is Kamala Harris.
Harris added to the criticism of Trump, comparing him to the kind of people she used to prosecute when she was Attorney General in California.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds, predators, fraudsters, and repeat offenders. I took them on and I won. Well, Georgia, in 12 days, it's Donald Trump's turn.
Trump, campaigning in Tempe, Arizona, also didn't hold back. He continued to criticize Harris and the Biden administration for their immigration policies, saying American borders are out of control.
She has eradicated our sovereign border, and she has unleashed an army of migrant gangs who are waging a campaign of violence and terror against our citizens. Kamala's migrant invasion, given to us through gross incompetence, disqualifies her from even thinking about being president. We can't let
Nazri Karim, TVB News.
no person.
Illegal immigration has been a hot topic in the 2024 U.S. presidential election. Some argue an influx of illegal immigrants pose a threat to national security. However, others claim tough deportation policies, such as those endorsed by Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, are not actually enforceable. Danny Cho has the story.
For many asylum seekers who have just arrived in New York City, this is their first stop, a former school that has been converted into an asylum center. During peak times, over 1,000 people can be seen lining up awaiting processing. Later, they would be accommodated in churches or temporary shelters where they get free access to food, clothing, and showers. Though New York is more than 2,000 kilometers away from the U.S. southern border, the city is still plagued by the problem of illegal immigration. Over the past 2 years, the Republican governors of Florida and Texas have sent thousands of migrants on buses and planes to cities run by Democrats, including New York. Brooklyn City Council member Susan Zhuang said many residents have lodged complaints about the rising number of illegal immigrants, which they say has led to a deterioration of hygiene and security in the area. She has proposed the screening of migrants to be streamlined and made more efficient. Zhuang mentions the local health bureau is too understaffed to collect excess litter, and the crime rate in the area has risen amid a shortage of police officers. Zhuang said, "It's not that we do not accept immigrants, but that we hope to have well-behaved immigrants, not gangsters or serious criminals." Around 870 million illegal immigrants have flocked to the US in the past 3 years. Over 82% of them were from Mexico. Carlos entered the United States illegally from El Salvador 20 years ago to seek better living conditions. Now working at a car dealership, he pays taxes on his earnings, but is not entitled to Medicare benefits. Carlos said undocumented migrants like him mostly fill the jobs that many U.S. citizens do not want. As for Republican nominee Donald Trump's proposal for mass deportation of illegal immigrants, Carlos viewed it as blatant racism, arguing it is impossible to enforce.
He just like to see white people next to him, that's it. Immigrant people, they still is gonna cross the border. It doesn't matter what they wanna do. It doesn't matter how many walls they wanna build. There is no opportunity. So that's why they need to cross the border.
A highly controversial policy by Donald Trump during his presidency was building a wall along the US-Mexico border. The project came to a halt after Joe Biden assumed office in 2021, in line with mainstream public opinion. Yet, recent polls showed a shift in attitude towards the policy. Over half of those surveyed are now in favor of building the wall. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has neither confirmed nor denied the presence of North Korean troops in his country. However, the Russian leader said that both nations will remain faithful to their strategic deal that allows for military assistance. Speaking on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia, Putin remained vague when asked about North Korean troops. South Korean and U.S. intelligence agents, citing satellite images, say around 3,000 North Korean soldiers have been deployed to Russia for training. Images are a serious thing, said Putin. If they're images, then they reflect something. Earlier, Russian lawmakers ratified a pact with North Korea on mutual military assistance. Putin said whatever Moscow and Pyongyang agree on is their business. China's eastern province of Shandong has a deep culture of traditional Chinese medicine. The province's pharmaceutical industry accounts for about 1/10 of the sector in China. In the fourth part of our series, Shandong, From Ancient Culture to the Future, Jackie Lin explores what some medical companies are looking at for the future.
Traditionally, Shandong has been a heartland in the cultivation and production of Chinese medicine, with a stable output and rich varieties, boasting some 1,900 types of raw materials for Chinese drugs. Emerging from the long tradition is this century-old Chinese medicine shop, which has evolved into a billion-dollar enterprise over the years. Their medicine encompasses herbal remedies, capsules, supplements, and tonics. They also opened a cultural tourism park in Shandong's capital, Jinan, to promote the culture of traditional Chinese medicine. In 2021, it was named among the 5th batch of representative projects of China's national intangible cultural heritage. Looking to the future, a representative of the company said they are setting sights on building a center in Hong Kong along with the He-Tao Cooperation Zone in Shenzhen. They say their Hong Kong hub is poised to engage in research, production, import, and export services in hopes of leveraging the SAR's international edge and talent. Meanwhile, headquartered in the city of Weihai, this pharmaceutical and medical device company embraced both Eastern medical know-how and Western technology, with its research and development center located in the United States. It provides a one-stop shop for medical institutions to build hospitals and clinics from the ground up, with everything from hardware to software, AI systems to medical devices up for grabs.
It's really great when you can find a company that is fully integrated to where they don't outsource a lot of their processes, because that will help in the supply chain, not having issues with the deliveries.
The pharmaceutical and medical device industry is one of the top 10 sectors in Shandong province, and Weihai City alone accounts for 1/4 of the economic value of pharmaceutical manufacturing in the entire province. Jackie Lin, TVB News, Shandong.
Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun today commented on the Ho Chi Association's alleged sexual abuse case. He said authorities need to await the findings of an independent review committee before deciding the next step. A care home worker of Hong Chi Pine Hill Integrated Vocational Training Center was arrested on suspicion of twice raping a female student. He was also alleged to have sexually assaulted a male student. When asked if the government would remove the license of the care home concerned, Chris Sun said they need to wait for the result of the investigation. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.